From Heidi Red Kiewitz. I recognize that name. Heidi Red Kiewitz. I know her. I know her from Twitter. She wrote a book called Honeymoon in Baghdad, as she served in the army in Iraq and met her husband in Iraq. And so they had a love affair in Iraq. And now she is raising a family. And that's really funny. I just recognized the name as I saw it. Hello, Supreme Overlord Klavan. And see, she knows my proper name. We've heard the Democratic politicians, this is about the mob, tell their voters to do whatever it takes in order to win. Many of them have called for violence, and we've seen it firsthand with these angry mobs. If Republicans win and take over the House and Senate, do you think the left will become even more violent? And at what point do conservatives say enough is enough? Conservatives seem quite calm and mellow when provoked. There has to be a point where we break. I understand we need to be civil. We're the party of values and morals, but we also can't be a punching bag for these guys. If the left becomes more violent after the elections, how do you see this playing out for us? All right, well, it's a two-part question. First of all, no, in one sense, there will be a faction that becomes more violent. But if they lose the midterms, the politicians are going to realize that by playing to their base, they have lost the country. And once they realize that, the politicians, I think, will start to become a little bit more central and move back away from these people who are alienating the rest of the country. I mean, that is what happened when Nixon in the 60s, there was all this same thing, the violence, the riots and all this. And Nixon just won like every vote in America. They got rid of him by other means, but he won the electorate. The Democrats who came after that, guys like Jimmy Carter and Bill Clinton, were in fact more centrist, and they represented, because they were Southerners, they had more sense of tradition and all that stuff. So that's what I think will happen to the party. They will realize the resistance has failed. A small group and a continually dwindling group will continue to be violent and possibly more violent. And look, in terms of our reaction, we have the right to self-defense. You don't have the right to go out and anticipate that they're going to do something wrong and cause violence in return on principle. You do not have that right, and it would be just as destructive to our side as what they're doing is destructive to their side. But you always have the right to self-defense. You do have the right, if you're swarmed by this mob, to fight back. And you certainly have the right to insist that the police protect you. It has never worked for the police to stand by and do nothing. That never works. And that idea is always very suspect to me. So I think a victory for the right in the midterms, a full-on House and Senate victory, would be a good thing, because it would wake the resistance up to the fact that, as Ann Coulter would say, resistance is futile.